Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host, Nacho. This week, I'm joined by my colleagues,
Lex
and
Thomas.
We're going to be talking about Seiko. We're going to be discussing why everybody loves Seiko, or why a lot of people like Seiko, some people don't like Seiko. Don doesn't like Seiko.
No, Don
loves Seiko.
No. Oh, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, you love Seiko.
Yeah.
You're a Seiko fan.
I have a long-term relationship with Seiko. Okay. I wouldn't call it love, though.
Oh, okay. It's a complicated affair. Perfect. Well, before we get into that, I don't think we'll get into that, actually. No. I think I'll steer clear of that. But before we get into it, let's do a little bit of a wrist check. Thomas, what is on your wrist?
On my wrist is a Seiko. Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk it?
A Skyliner from 1974, if I'm correct. Which is like a dirt cheap vintage hand winder with a little bit of a sort of granddad style. And it's I like it.
Yeah, I thought for a split second when he showed me this morning that you were wearing your King Seiko that you used to have once upon a time. Yeah. But it really has the same, it has a very similar proportions and very similar design. And it's, for being, as you describe it, a dirt cheap vintage watch, it's actually pretty good, pretty neat.
It's not dirt cheap, but let me nuance that a little bit.
No, of course. Of course.
I paid, I think.
Dirt is quite expensive nowadays.
These days, it has to be imported from China. It
depends on grain size as well.
Yeah.
But no, I paid about 350 euros, I guess.
Which that's dirt cheap.
In all things considered. But it's I would say it's a sweet spot buy.
Yeah, for sure. You could have gotten so much dirt for that money, though.
Yeah.
If you invested it wisely. Perfect. No, this is definitely a wiser investment. But Lex, what is on your wrist?
I'm not wearing my Seiko Astron. Not the vintage King Seiko. I got dirt cheap. And it's also not my Grand Seiko, but it's actually not my Seiko. This is, I'm saying Seiko, right? That's
you can say Seiko. So Dutch people tend to say Seiko.
No, but we have to say Seiko.
Seiko.
This is not my Seiko. This is actually Matthijs' Seiko. This is a JDM Sports 5. It's actually kind of cool. I actually really like it. Look at it. It's was it dirt cheap, Matthijs?
Yes.
It was dirt cheap.
Perfect. Matthijs, for those of you who don't know, is the man behind the camera.
The myth behind camera. Yeah.
And the owner of this watch. Yeah. And I think you'll have to tell the audience, you'll have to tell us what it is, because we think it's maybe a JDM model. It's obviously from the Sports 5 line.
That's how they sold it to him.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was a ripoff. No,
I
don't think so. But it's the spiritual successor to the SKX, the classic SKX.
Yeah. Well, it looks nice with the crown at 4. It's a cool watch.
Very cool. Nice.
Good choice, Matthijs.
Yes, good choice. And finally, I'm wearing my Seiko SRP. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I think it's 039 or something like that. SRPK 039.
That does sound right.
Something like that.
From what year?
It's the mini turtle. Or the baby turtle. It's from, I don't know what year it's from, but it's a discontinued model.
Yeah, because it has very distinct, like a 90s, early 2000 vibe with the.
I think it's from around, actually probably closer to like 2017.
Oh, really?
That kind of thing.
Oh, my God.
It's fairly modern.
Oh, but it looks fairly 90s.
Yeah, it does have a bit of a 90s vibe with that bracelet. But I like it. It's got these, what they call tombstone-shaped loom plots. Because they look like little cartoon gravestones.
I do like the K-shape.
Yeah, the K-shape is nice. It's got some good chamfering to it, and it's a little bit more wearable than the 44 millimeter turtle. This is 42 millimeters, which is by no means small, but because of the short lugs, it's very wearable. And I have it on the OEM bracelet.
The blue one of those is nice as well.
Yeah, the blue one's nice, and there's a bunch of limited editions. One which I quite like because it has the text at the bottom, the diver's 200 meter text in red, and the seconds hand is also in red, so it has a little bit of contrast there. But it's But let's get into the topic today. Definitely. So Seiko, obviously, recently our colleague Dan wrote an article saying that perhaps the value proposition offered by the brand is something that's slowly shifting in a direction where it's perhaps disappearing. But I think that in a way the brand is really sort of branching out and adding range to its catalog, and really sort of going from anywhere like the Seiko 5 Sports line,
or the Presages,
and the Presage. You recently wrote about
Yeah. There was 3 new cocktail
cocktail time
models.
GMTs, right?
Yeah. With a office GMT or a bar GMT, whatever you like. They were
bar GMT.
Yeah, the
That's
bar
nice.
GMT. So it's good when you're completely drunk, wearing your cocktail-inspired presage. You can know where's the call.
Call me a cab.
It's fucking awesome. It's really nice.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Big fan
no,
of those.
but they're not that expensive. I think.
How much are those?
I think 600. But you have to
Roundabout.
Yeah, and you get a mechanical watch with a GMT function, and I think it's still it's kind of entry level, but there is a decent finishing, and yes, it's not incredibly subtle and all that, but so you get a fully polished case, and but there is it's definitely still quite a lot of watch for your money, and it has you can also buy a micro brand for that price, of course, but then you don't get the reassurance of the big name on the dial, and I think Seiko still stands for reliability and everything. So that's good, and the movement inside is not the most accurate and everything, but it's a mechanical.
It's a criticism across the board, I guess.
Yeah.
I recently wrote about the new King Seikos, and they get the same criticism. Like it's a really, really nicely made watch. The finishing is superb, and then the caliber is a little bit. Yeah. At least it's not regulated very precisely.
Yeah, that's the thing. Hey, you can get very precise Seiko movements, of course, but then you pay much more.
You also hear that it's the kind of thing where you could get a watchmaker to regulate it, and then it'll probably run a little bit better. It's perhaps one cost cutting method there that keeps the price sort of reasonable, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fairly honest product. They're by no means perfect, but it feels like when you get into a Seiko, you know exactly where you're getting into. It's also very much the first step for a lot of people when getting into watches. I mean, obviously
I think it's for some, it's for the vast majority, it's the first and only step.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah,
your first and final step into mechanical watches.
Exactly. Yeah, because it really gives you all you need. If you think about it, I mean, you can definitely go up in price even within Seiko and into Grand Seiko and Credor and all kinds of fancier watches. Then you get into Swiss watches as well, or very high end Japanese watches. But really, Seiko is it gives you all you need.
Oh,
insofar as
that's
watch.
Sweet. Seiko
gives you honestly, just to get back to this,
sounds like a 1990s Japanese advertising slogan.
Gives you all you need. There you go. A regular Don Draper over here.
Now we're coming back to that accuracy thing, because that's focus.
Yeah, focus.
Because that's an often heard criticism.
Yeah.
But I think actually that, honestly, personally, I don't really care.
I care the vast majority of Seiko wearers
but I think
really care
even
about that.
if you judge a caliber, like the accuracy, indeed, you say like it's a matter of regulating often. So the question is more like, is it capable of being regulated more precisely?
But shouldn't it be more better regulated?
Well, it should be, but it doesn't tell you anything about the quality of the watch. It just tells you about that one action, the regulating, that they haven't done.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I'd rather have a well-built caliber that isn't very well regulated than a crappy caliber. It's like, for instance, there's other calibers that could sort of like laser calibrated, and you can never recalibrate them afterwards.
Okay.
I'd rather have an uncalibrated caliber that you can.
I'd rather have a calibrated caliber.
Yeah, I think
have it all, man.
No, to be honest, I think with a Seiko, right? Like, for example, with a watch like this, I think I paid €200 for it a few years ago, and I don't notice when it's not keeping time well. Whereas with a couple watches I have, which are chronometer certified, after a couple of days, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's a few seconds off. You sort of, when you have that, and maybe this is just like a psychological thing, when you notice that when you have high expectations, then you're a little bit more psychological. And this is with a watch like this, you go, well, as long as it's keeping reasonable time, then you're good. But then it takes off a lot of other boxes, but I believe that now in the catalog, like you say, you have I think this is the shift that has kind of maybe caused a little bit of this confusion and this sort of perception change is the fact that there was always the Prospex line, which was anywhere from, and it still is with the Samurais that came out recently. The Prospex line, it ranges from about 500, 600 euros up into now around almost 4,000. The latest divers. I think they're also SPB divers, or no? They call it the Marine Master, but it's a higher end. I think 3,400 euro watch. But then at the same time with Seiko 5, that's where you start taking steps below that. Yeah. So you get something that's a little bit below, but there is a bit of cross segment between them. Prospex watches will always be about 200 meters of water resistance, whereas the Seiko 5s, they're, I believe, 100 meters of water resistance. So it's a little bit
try
less.
That out later.
There's no screw down crown. Yeah, we'll take a dip in the canal. Yeah. But so it's that kind of thing where you have these as entry level, then you have the Prospex line, and then you range
also
up.
And you have Presage.
Presage, which is also somewhere in between, a little bit dressier, and then you get even enamel dials for.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the launch of Presage, and they launched a chronograph amongst there was three models at the time, and they launched this with the enamel dial and everything, and they were presented as watches to get people into mechanical watchmaking. Yeah, and now I think with this line is that they shifted that down, but probably also because at a certain point Grand Seiko became like a standalone brand, and now you can also see that they're developing King Seiko, because now the whole Seiko catalog, as you said before, has way more range. So it starts with the automatic movements for I don't know what the exact price of this is, and then you can go up all the way into King Seiko territory. And of course, there are these very expensive limited editions that come out every now and again. Yeah. And then Creator is of course like a separate brand. So I don't think it's still under the Seiko brand, but it's. Yeah, it's exactly way out there, but I think it's clever that they have the range. So why not fully use it now when they and they can move up with King Seiko to fill the gap that was there when was created when Grand Seiko left. So I think it's smart. The only thing is, how does that image-wise work? Because for Grand Seiko, it seems to work, but does it also work for Seiko?
Well, in a way, I think they treat the brands very similarly, at least in this structural perspective, because you see with Grand Seiko, there's also a lot of range. You see things like the SBG 123s, and even some of the quartz models, which are around 2,000 euros, that kind of thing.
Are they still around 2,000?
Yeah, 2.5.
Pre-owned, the quartz ones especially, and the SBG, I think it's around 3,000. It's still under 5,000.
That's a bit.
But then it ranges up when you get into the high beat spring drive, all that kind of stuff. And,
my word!
Let alone precious metal, or
they got pricey, I have to say. Oh, the Kodo.
That's that.
But the latest Kodo Tourbillon version,
it's amazing. Yeah.
That's good.
That's a good looking creation.
300,000 euros.
Yeah, but man, that's a good looking watch.
So in a way, the range, we've covered the range in terms of price, but also I think another great thing about Seiko is that they don't just have range in price. They also, and this is perhaps the bane of all watch photographers, they also have range in terms of SKUs and iterations within a model, right? Like this one, you will see this watch in black and blue, but then you also have a Paddy edition. You have Thai limited editions with these sort of faux guilloche textured dials, and in several colors. It's every single one of their watches has seen countless iterations, and it's, I think that's a really
and they
great
refuse
thing.
to give them names.
For sure,
Keep them apart by.
But what is the standout feature for a Seiko? What is the thing you admire most about Seiko? Is there is it dials? Is it movement? No, it's probably
there is a design language
word.
there that's very recognizable.
The loom. They have great loom. Like, say what you will about a Seiko, but nothing glows when you come inside from a sunny day than Seiko's Lumi Bright. It's truly fantastic.
Reliability, I guess, for many of the sort of entry level, like if you get an entry level Seiko diver, you can do anything with it.
Yeah.
You can hammer in a nail and put it back on, and
I would say
be accurate.
No, I would say case shapes. They are so original with their case shapes, and if you look at what they produced in the past and how well the design holds up. Not all of them, of course, not all of them, but the 44GS and the tunas. It's just they really you have their own design language for sure, and they have these cases that are just. I mean, even this is unmistakably a Seiko.
Absolutely.
And
the bezel, the hands,
exactly.
The case shape, everything comes together around the floor.
And that's incredible because how many generic watches do we have out there?
Definitely. And like you say, right, this is about as generic, let's say, as a Seiko can get.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the tuna, which is completely wild and unlike anything. You have the analog digital version, Arnie, and I think you can tell that people truly have this deep passion and love for Seiko in the nicknames that they get. All of them get a great nickname.
Nothing shows love better than a nickname.
Exactly.
A term of endearment.
A term of endearment, exactly. And then the beauty.
That's why you don't have one, I guess.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Come on.
I do have.
We all know about sexy Lexi.
Okay, sorry. Fantastic. No, but another upside, I think, to Seiko, an interesting thing is, I think that they are sort of free of status. You don't walk into a wear a
bar
Seiko in any price
a good point.
segment, and it's just fine for what it is. It's not showy, it's not cheap, it's not
Seiko. It doesn't get you laid. No, let's cut that out. But
leave your stories in the comments if you've ever no,
but there's no sort of stigma or connotation to it.
No,
it's very neutral in that sense. In a kind of a positive way, I guess.
And I think because the most Seiko wearers wear it with pride, so it still has presence.
For sure. And I think that's it. It's your favorite. It could be your favorite watch because it was your first watch.
I can still be sexy wearing a Grand Seiko.
True.
It's difficult.
Not all of us can.
You don't need it, Lex. You don't need it.
Exactly. No, but it's true. There's I think that it being the first watch for a lot of people, or it having been a default watch for a very long time, like that's kind of what's affordable. It's the first one you see when you look through the window. They're also a bit like we said before, ubiquitous. They're a little bit everywhere, and you might see somebody who bought it in the 80s, and they've been wearing it ever since, and it's just their old reliable beater. Or you could see somebody who just bought the latest reissue of that exact same watch and wearing it with appreciation for the people who have been wearing it for as long as they have. And then you get into, there's also the beauty of it is also it's quite an old brand at this point, which means that you also have a lot of collectability looking back. Like that's also the thing. You could write an entire book about Seiko models ranging back into the past.
Definitely.
And I think they've also done a lot to endorse exploration and activities. When you look at the history with polar explorers, Naomi. What is it? Naomi Umura?
Naomi Campbell.
Not Naomi Campbell.
It was my first.
Another famous Naomi. But yeah, like the things that they've done in the past as well with providing
absolutely
watches for explorers and people doing brave and unique things. I mean,
I was just thinking that's the weird thing with Seiko. Say you're at an airport and you're killing time because KLM is delayed as always, and you're looking to the left and you see a gentleman wearing a Lange. Yep. You know that if you start a conversation with that person, you can talk about that watch for hours. Mm-hmm. On the right, there's a person wearing a Seiko.
Yeah.
So you can either go down the rabbit hole very, very deeply and talk about your Japanese explorer, or it's just a watch someone bought. Exactly. So there is this black
it's a 50,
and white.
50 chance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you see somebody wearing a Seiko and they just, oh no, I just got this for Christmas. Like that's so much less heartbreaking than if you go, oh, nice Lange, and they go, Oh, what? Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about it. Like that, there's nothing
very
more
true.
heartbreaking than when somebody
that's
has
very
like
true.
a really beautiful, amazing watch, and
Yeah.
they go, "Oh, this, I don't know,
Good
I just
point.
bought it because it's
Good
expensive
point. Yeah.
or whatever." Right? I mean, that's
what you have with the majority of Hublot wearers. I didn't
perhaps.
say that.
I haven't seen a lot of Hublot wearers.
And
Friends
Rolex
ago,
wearers
wow.
for all that matter.
That's more what I had in mind. But,
Sorry, Hublot.
yeah, perfect.
Take that back.
Yeah, you take it back. Perfect. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for Seiko.
So
it might be a topic that we'll revisit in different angles because it really is something that, like we said, it's a lot of range. So there's a lot to talk about there. Perhaps we'll have some of our more veteran Seiko enthusiast riders. Perhaps Mike Stockton will be visiting from London sometime, and I'm sure he could go down the rabbit hole as well. There's a Gerard who knows a thing or two about, especially going back into vintage Seikos.
Yes.
But yeah, thanks guys for the discussion. And as always, please let us. Oh no, let's do the comment of the week. I almost. That's
why everyone's here.
Did the unthinkable to our audience there. No, you comment and we listen and we read about it. I even have a plug to do before the end of the podcast. So if you haven't gotten enough of hearing me talk nonsense here, there will be. I will make an appearance on the 21st of June on the Chrono Passions 7 podcast hosted by Parm and Andy talking about watch photography. So check that out if you want.
Podcast on photography.
A podcast, a watch
amazing.
podcast where I talk about watch photography.
You're going to describe photographs.
Yes, audio. I described so many photographs. It's brilliant. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Perfect. No, and then our comment of the week.
Pixel by pixel.
Pixel by pixel, exactly. But from left to right.
Nice. The RGB values.
Exactly. Yeah. Then all the edits and everything, and raw file, not raw file, all that good stuff. Perfect. And then our comment of the week, which comes from Richard N5854, who says, "Topic true to my heart," referring to expensive watches on cheap straps or inexpensive straps. Sorry. I wore a vintage sub on a NATO during 2 Afghanistan tours just because I thought it was badass. Yeah, so that's comment of the week, and go hunt that comment down because there's a little bit more to it, and it's a little bit long to read the full thing out. But it's
expensive straps
wearing
on cheap watches. Nice.
That's what we should do next.
Yeah.
We'll do that next week. But until then, leave your comments and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.